It is Thursday, April 7th at 6 o'clock, and I'm going to call this Lacey City Council meeting to order. Everyone, if able, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, welcome everyone to our first hybrid city council meeting, our first meeting here at Lacey City Hall since the beginning of COVID. So it's time to celebrate for that for sure. We are in hybrid mode, so we can tell we have a couple council members with us on Zoom. It's good to see you guys. With that, we do have an agenda that's in front of us, and I don't think there's any changes. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda and consent agenda?
Move to approve the agenda as published. And
Second.
consent agenda.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Then that motion unanimously carries. We have approved the agenda and consent agenda items. And first up on our agenda is public recognitions. Under public recognitions and presentations is the Public Service Award for Ken Balsley. And he's here. Jen? I'll bring you up. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Good evening. For 6 years. He served 2 full terms. So he was here right before I got here to the city, and we got to update the comprehensive plan together. So that was fun. Ken, as many of you know, has also served in a lot of other capacities. He was on the Historical Commission prior to that for the city for 13 years, and he currently is on the Thurston County Historical Commission as well. So gosh, to say that Ken is an involved resident of Lacey and of the greater community is just an understatement. So he does so much for the community, and we really appreciate your service from the Parks, Culture, and Recreation Department, and also on behalf of the Board of Park Commissioners of the City of Lacey. We wish to sincerely thank you.
So it's been a while since I've been able to come up here and do this, but on behalf of the Lacey City Council, it's really quite an honor, Ken, to give you our Distinguished Public Service Award for the Board of Parks Commissions from 2015 to 2021. I remember interviewing Ken for the Parks Board, and we go way back. And I've known how much Ken has given to this community. And at the time, though, it was a little bit of, I would say it's a little bit of a controversial pick because Ken's been so active in this community in so many different capacities. But, parks is something that really is a defining characteristic of Lacey. And there's, without a doubt, Ken Balsley loves Lacey. No one can say anything different. Maybe they might disagree with you on other things, but they know that you love Lacey. And I know that you love Lacey, and I know that we have an outstanding park system. And we are coming up into a situation where we had to update our parks comprehensive plan.
Again.
Yeah, well, we did then, now we're coming up on it again.
We're just starting it off again. Yep.
I know, now we're on the other phase. And I just knew you were going to be a great addition to that process. You've been a big supporter of our parks for a long time, and you've done an outstanding job. And I just want to thank you for all you've done, all you've continued to do, and really appreciate everything you've done.
Thank you very much.
There you go.
Next time I get to say a few words.
You do. You've earned it.
Sit down. Before I sit down, I want to tell just one kind
Go ahead.
of funny is that more interesting is that Ken only wanted to receive this in person. And so here we are. I'm so happy that we're finally here.
About 2 years.
His term was done in August, just this past August. And so, yeah, it seems like longer, but yeah, we held out, hope that we'd be back here in person to be able to present this award to him. So I'm glad we're finally here. So thanks again, Ken.
Well, as Andy said, I spent a long time trying to make Lacey not a better city, but a better community. I mean, we have a great city, but my goal was always to make it a community so that people knew that they were living in Lacey and not one of the adjacent cities. And that's a difficult thing to do, because if you go historically back, there's just no reason for Lacey to exist as a separate entity. People who move here from other states will say, why you got 3 cities? It makes no sense to them. Mm-hmm. And so trying to find a reason for Lacey to exist as a separate community was a difficult project. And city governments have 3 purposes. The first one is public safety. Fire, police, and I know, we're going to be spending money to build a new police station down the road, and we need to do that. The second purpose of a government is for roads and transportation. I mean, that's the 2 major reasons that cities and any kind of government structures exist. But the third one is to make people proud that they live in whatever city that they're living in. Mm-hmm. And the way you do that, when you don't have a state capital to identify with, or you don't have an airport or a brewery to identify with, or the first community in the state to identify, what is it that makes Lacey unique? Well, we do have St. Martin's College, and we're very proud of St. Martin's, and I know we're negotiating with St. Martin's to maybe build a baseball stadium on that property, and we really need to do that. St. Martin's needs us, and we need them, because that is one icon that actually stands out. But the other icon that I think is that we were a new city, and we immediately, when we started in 1966, we began to protect and save our history. Mm-hmm. Because we had far-looking people in the city government that realized and understood that you have to, if you're going to have a new city, you have to have a foundation to build it on. Mm-hmm. And that foundation, as far as I was concerned, was our history. And so we began to protect our history. We built the museum and so on and so forth. And I'm here tonight to plead for this council. Lenny's over there laughing because he knows what I'm going to say. Spend some money and build my museum. I mean, we're moving along. We've gotten grants, but we've been talking about this for 16 years, to build this new museum. And the one we've got is a fine. We need to save the old city hall. But we need to build the museum. I think that museum, when it's finished, it's a museum and cultural center, I understand. Mm-hmm. So when that is finished, we will have a better understanding of who we are and why we're here, and people will flock to it, and that will let's put the city on the map, and let's make the community. And don't forget, we got 30,000 people south of here, or west of here, wherever it is, mm-hmm. East, who also will be Lacey residents someday. Mm-hmm. So we have to make sure that we begin to plan not only on when we're going to do it and how we're going to do it, but what we can do before we have to do it. Mm-hmm. So that's my lecture. I just want you to make one more plea that we do have a new museum. We need to spend that money, and I'll fight for the bitter end for that. Thank you very much for your time and your attention. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm not going to stay for the meeting.
That's fine, Ken. And I want to go on record that I did not pay Ken Balsley to say that, but you and I are on the exact same page as the Museum and Culture Center as a passion of ours, and I absolutely agree. I'm doing everything on my end. We have a Lacey Community Foundation that we're started. That's going to be the 501c3 armed. It's going to collect that side of it. We're on our way, Ken.
I was negligent. I forgot to mention the Lacey Veterans Center.
Yeah.
That is such a unique thing. Any veteran around here knows Lacey because of the Veterans Center.
Yes.
And this council, whoever it was that came up with the idea and the concept, should be thankful.
Well, thank you for that, Ken.
We have a large veterans community.
Absolutely. And I would be remiss if I didn't take this moment as we're talking about Lacey's history to talk about Shirley Zajic. It has always been my goal to get the Museum and Cultural Center built while Shirley was still with us. I've just been given news recently that Shirley is in hospice care. And, she's 93, something like that, 94. But she's been a long part of this community, and it was a passion of hers to preserve Lacey's history and to get this museum and cultural center built. And I just want to let Shirley know, if you're watching tonight, we're thinking about you, we love you, and we'll get it built as soon as we can. You have my word on it. That's so. Thank you, Ken. Thank you for your words. So let's go. Next up on our agenda is public comment on items not on the agenda. We didn't have anyone registered through Zoom. Is there anyone on this with us today who has anything you'd like to bring before this council on items not on the agenda? Seeing none, we did have several written public comments that came to the council, 13 public comments, and they'll be part of our record. So next up on our agenda is we have three different proclamations today, and we'll go in order. The first proclamation is the Earth Month proclamation, and we will start that with Councilmember Vasquez.
Whereas Earth Day was created 52 years ago, recognizing the importance for everyone to protect the planet on which we live. And
Let's see if we get Councilmember Cox go. You have to unmute yourself.
Trying. Come back to it. Okay. I'm sorry, this is Arbor Day?
This is Earth Month.
Earth Month, okay, sorry. It's in the reverse order in my script. So whereas all life forms on Earth have a right to a healthy, sustainable environment, and whereas the global community now faces extraordinary challenges such as environmental degradation, global health issues, climate change, food and water shortages, and
Councilmember Stedman.
Yep, I got you. This is Arbor Day.
No,
right?
yeah, sorry, I know it's Earth Month.
Yeah, that's what I thought. All right. Whereas all of us have an obligation to preserve the Earth's beauty as well as its resources, the obligation extends not only to today's generation but also to the future generations who will inherit our planet from us. And
Whereas Lacey exemplifies the ethos of Earth Month by its continued commitment to conserving water and energy, reducing carbon emissions and waste, and maintaining its Tree City USA designation. And
whereas we proclaim Earth Month, we recognize our obligation to live up to the significance of environmental stewardship every day. And
Now, therefore, I, Andy Ryder, the mayor of Lacey, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2022 as Earth Month in the City of Lacey, and I encourage all citizens to be aware of their impacts on our environment and to participate in stewardship opportunities to preserve local resources. Signed by myself, Mayor Andy Ryder, today, April 7th, 2022. And accepting this, go ahead. Do we have someone to accept this? Lindsay.
Hey, Council. It's Lindsay Fields with I'm with City of Lacey Water Resources, Water Resource Specialist. Should I give my presentation now?
Go for it. Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I wasn't prepared to go so fast. I could wait until the Arbor Day proclamation.
Then let's
because I'm doing that one as well.
Sure. Let's do the Arbor Day proclamation next, and then you can go after that. So, Arbor Day proclamation. We'll start off with Councilmember Vasquez.
whereas in 1872, Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And
whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And
whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and
whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And
Whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, food, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And
Whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community.
Now therefore, I, Andy Ryder, the mayor of the city of Lacey, on behalf of the Lacey City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2022 as Arbor Month in the city of Lacey. And I encourage all citizens to support efforts to care for our trees and woodlands and to plant trees to provide beautification for future generations to enjoy. Signed by myself, Mayor Andy Ryder, April 7th, 2022. And now we'll go over to Lindsay for your presentation.
Absolutely. I'm assuming it's okay for me to share the screen.
Please do.
Yeah, excellent. Pull it up in the beginning. Excellent. I'm hoping you can all see that. Excellent. I think you can because I can see the council chambers screen as well. Yeah, so we'll start with Arbor Day 2022. It's a really short presentation, about 5 slides. Just going to talk about the events we have coming up for this month and get into a really brief history of the Tree City USA designation that we have. I'm not the person who manages that designation, but it is a part of our Arbor Day event. And so since the early 1990s, the city of Lacey has been designated as a tree city by the Arbor Day Foundation. They're also the folks who run Arbor Day. The city has invested more than $7.5 million in its tree planting and care and have given away more than 33,000 tree seedlings. And we'll be giving away about 1,000 more hopefully this month. I believe this will be our 31st year as a tree city. And so, yeah, so super exciting. We passed the 30th year. We're into our 31st year, which brings me to our Arbor Day tree giveaway. So this will actually be my first event in person since COVID started. So I'm really stoked to be at Huntermore Park, talking with our citizens and offering a service to them where they just get to come by and pick up a tree. And so we'll have 6 different types of trees. White dogwood, Black Hills spruce, white spruce, red maple, eastern red bud, and tulip trees. It's 1 per person on a first come, first served basis. So I just tell everyone to bring the whole family. And so we'll have tons of trees there to give away. It starts at 10, ends at 1. And they're going to be seedlings and they're going to be bare root. And so they're not going to be planted in any pot. So they can fit in your car. You don't need to bring like a truck or a trailer or anything like that either. And then Earth Day 2022, so that event is going to be April 9th. So that's coming up this weekend. This Saturday we'll have our tree giveaway at Huntermore Park. And so Earth Day 2022, the city of Lacey participates with the other jurisdictions in Thurston County. This is an event that's mostly put on by the Park Foundation in partnership with local jurisdictions and then also with local Lions clubs. So it's a volunteer event and a student challenge. It's Saturday, April 23rd from 9 a.m. to noon. We'll be at Wonderwood Park pulling ivy, other invasive plant species. We'll have some, water, gloves, things like that. But we encourage everyone to bring their own gloves, bring their own water bottle as well. And then, so the Park Foundation has been scheduling this, and this will be the first one again since COVID, right? And the local Lions Club who are participating are the Lacey Lamplighters Lions, Lacey Midday Lions, and Lacey Sunrise Lions. And the Lions Club chapters have pulled their resources. And so for each jurisdiction, individually Tumwater, Lacey, Olympia, and unincorporated Thurston County, the school with the most students who show up will actually be presented a check for $500. So it's a way to get students out, like you said, it's a generational thing, trying to combat the climate, crisis. And so getting students involved is really exciting. And one way to do that is to get them some, funds for their school to use however they want. And so we're really excited. So again, Saturday, April 23rd, bring the whole family, 9 a.m. to noon at Wonderwood Park. And we'll be pulling ivy and having a good time. And I think that's it for my slides. Yep.
Great. Thank you so much. It's one of the really good things about being able to come back in person is that we have our Arbor Day celebrations again. And every year we, well, prior to the last 2 years, we've had a tree exchange with our sister city within Thurston County, which is Yelm. And so we present them a tree, they give us a tree, we plant those, and I actually have a special tree to give Yelm this year. I've been growing it at my house, so I'm going to give it to them, and they have a celebration coming that in the month here as well, so I'll be going to that. The other interesting thing about Arbor Day, the very first Arbor Day we had in the city of Lacey, I went there with my grandmother, and we got 2 pine trees and planted them in my yard. I bought my childhood home, so we planted in my yard where a tree had fallen down and had gotten rid of it. And now those 2 trees are now 31, plus years old, and huge trees, and always remind me of my grandmother and always remind me of the very first Arbor Day. So it holds a special place in my heart.
Absolutely. Trees have an amazing connection to our community. It's one of the way, you go by a big maple or something you've seen a bunch of times, and it kind of connects you intimately with your surroundings. And I did want to invite council. So Earth Day, we will be planting a cedar tree in Wonderwood Park that was gifted to us by the Park Foundation. So if you all would like to come and help plant the tree, we would love to have all of you out there as well.
Great. That's wonderful news. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we have one last proclamation. It's the proclamation for Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month. And I will get started with this proclamation. City of Lacey official proclamation. Whereas National Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month is recognized in April to raise awareness of the widespread problem of child abuse and neglect that can have a long-term detrimental effects on a child's development and mental and physical health. And
whereas the City of Lacey recognizes our future rests in the hands of our most vulnerable and cherished assets, our children. And
whereas all children deserve to live in a safe, stable, and nurturing environments that promote healthy growth and development. And
Whereas child abuse, neglect, and other trauma are recognized as serious public health problems affecting the quality of life in our community. And
whereas it is the responsibility of the community to ensure parents, caregivers, and other adults who influence the health and well-being of children have the necessary support, knowledge, and resources to ensure all children achieve their greatest potential. And
whereas effective child abuse prevention strategies succeed because of partnerships among governmental and nonprofit agencies, schools, religious organizations, law enforcement agencies, healthcare providers, and the business community. And
whereas the City of Lacey continues our commitment to protect all community members and calls upon our community to join together to increase public safety and prevent the further abuse and neglect of our children.
now, therefore, I, Andy Ryder, Mayor of the City of Lacey, on behalf of the Lacey City Council, do hereby proclaim April 2022 as Child Abuse Awareness and Prevention Month and urge all Lacey community members, governmental and nonprofit entities, faith groups, elected leaders, medical providers and organizations, educators and businesses to increase their participation in efforts to support families and caregivers, thereby preventing child abuse and strengthening the community in which we live. Signed, myself, Mayor Andy Ryder, April 7th, 2022. And we have Shelley and a couple people. Proclamation.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Board members. who
Thank
have
you.
them, Bonnie,
Thank you. You want to say a few words?
would you guys like to say something first? No? Oh, thank you, Mayor and council members, for setting aside time to recognize child abuse prevention efforts. Thurston County has had a 34% increase in child abuse over the last few years, 2 fatalities in the last 3 weeks, and that's too many. We know the antecedents of abuse and we know the anecdote, and we can all take action. You'll see pinwheels like this planted across Thurston County. We planted over 1,000 at the state capitol last week, and it didn't rain on us. And if you visit our website, Family Education and Support Services, you'll find lots of strategies you can take to reduce child abuse and neglect. Thanks for bringing awareness, and we hope you'll plant your pinwheels and talk to others about it.
Thank you.
And they keep the gophers away.
That's great. Thank you. Well, it's been a really tough 2 years for everyone. And we know it's been especially difficult on our children. They have struggled not only trying to deal with the isolation, they've been struggling with their education, but they're also could be struggling within a household where there's abuse and have been isolated and haven't been around other people to recognize that abuse. And so I felt it was very, very important that we recognize this month and the work that you do. And as you say, there's been a couple of fatalities, which is very heartbreaking. And so I just hope everyone who's listening, it can pay attention to the children and see how they're doing, and look for signs. And please, if something doesn't look right, doesn't feel right, report it. Say something. The worst thing that could happen is, there was no abuse there, but you may be saving the child's life as well. So it's an important month to be able to recognize this, and thank you for what you're doing on your end.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So next up on our agenda is ordinances. Ordinance 1619, the 2022 budget amendment. Troy.
Good evening, Council. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for the introduction. I think that's the first introduction I've heard in 2 years. Normally, I'm transitioning from the audience into the meeting, and there's this kind of black hole that happens, so I never know what you say. So thank you for that. It's great to be here. You do have before you tonight an ordinance that will amend the 2022 budget. You're probably thinking this is pretty early in the year to already be amending the budget. We typically do this once a year in September of each year, but recognizing the scope and the number of amendments, the Finance Committee suggested that we come to the Council early, really to maintain transparency as well as integrity of the budget. So here we are early. You do have a full list of the amendments in Exhibit A attached to the ordinance. The staff report does include significant amendments, and I'll cover verbally some of the more significant amendments. And I'd like to start with the general fund. We do have some personnel enhancements. Really, the administrative burden of a growing organization is catching up with us. So we do have positions within this budget amendment for human resources as well as the payroll function. We do have an administrative position that will help with the administrative duties within the finance department, and most notably the business licensing and B&O tax administration. There's also a significant amendment for a new OSHA requirement related to arc flashing. This is really an issue that, well, we're required to address legally, but it's really any significant electrical panel that may have the opportunity to arc and potentially hurt employees. So we do have a study that is scheduled. It's about $494,000. This will be split between the facilities department within the general fund as well as the water and sewer department. There is a $340,000 amendment for the regional athletic complex. This is relating to irrigation, actually past due irrigation bills. I think last summer we discovered that an irrigation meter had not been billed for about a 5-year period. So this $340,000 is a catch-up. Thankfully, we do have the reserves to pay this bill. Within our capital equipment fund, there's $250,000 for equipment and office enhancements. As we transition back into the workplace, back to a new normal, we certainly recognize that the workplace may look different, so there This money is available to help us transition as we kind of navigate where we're going in the future. The council did commit this reserve, $250,000 for this exact purpose. Switching gears and looking at some of our capital funds, arterial streets. Again, I think our transportation department, their expertise in obtaining grants is again on display. We were recently awarded 2 different grants related to service transportation. One is related to a roundabout at Willamette and Campus Glen Drive. The other is the College and 29th roundabout. So we are going to start those. Well, we're not going to start the projects. We're going to start the design of those projects and some right-of-way. So there's a little bit of money to get those started. Within the budget, our building improvement fund, it's too bad Ken left early. We do have $380,000 to really start the museum project, and that was for demolition. Councilmember Vasquez, did you have a?
I don't know if you want questions throughout or jumping in.
We'll take them at the end. How about that?
Okay,
Good.
I'll hold my question.
Okay, great. Within the parks and open space, we have a $1.85 million amendment. Portion of this is for the design of the first phase of the Great Cuyo Park development, as well as a priority park property purchase. Within our utility billing department, which is actually a function of the water department, we are adding staff here again. We've been really struggling with our meter reading system. It's really a failing system, so we're in a temporary, for a temporary period of time, we're going to be transitioning to more of a manual or a combination of a manual and radio read system, so we need staffing for that. Really going to evaluate that system, evaluate the entire customer service delivery of the utility billing department, so we see this as a 2-year project, so these are limited term employees. Also related to the same issue is a $800,000 amendment, and this is to purchase the failing equipment. This is we've all heard about the supply chain issues. Our water meters are facing the same challenges, so this is really to move us up in the queue in terms of getting those deliveries, as well as really to order in bulk so we don't have to really face those shortages as we continue to go on. The final amendment I'll mention is related to joint animal services. It's about a $307,000 increase. This is really a timing issue. The City Council adopts the joint animal services budget as part of its budget because we do have the administrative responsibilities of joint animal services. We adopted our budget before Joint Animal Services did, so this is really a difference. And what happened in Joint Animal Services is they expanded their service into the county, which caused this increase. So it's simply just to catch up with the Joint Animal Services budget. So the action requested of you tonight is to adopt the ordinance and amend the 2022 budget, and I will turn it back to you for questions.
Go ahead with the question.
There's 2 questions. One, some of these are one-time costs, right? We're either hiring temporary staff or we're purchasing equipment that should be durable enough to last a long time. Is there an easy way to look at this and see what are the long-term costs, like permanent staff, versus short-term costs, which are like a 1 year that can be covered with what we have sitting in reserves?
Sure. The 2 accounting functions, so the payroll function as well as administrative, that's going to be an ongoing cost. The majority of the rest are coming from those one-time sources. I apologize, it's not readily identified within the amendments, but that really goes to one of our core philosophies as a city is to identify one-time revenues for those one-time projects. That way we don't have that ongoing burden, and I think that's served the city well. So for the most part, that is the case within these amendments.
And then the one other question I had, can you describe what the plan is for that College and 29th improvement, the arterial funding?
Sure, it's going to be an additional roundabout. So it was probably 10 years ago, the College Street Corridor Transportation Improvement Plan was adopted. This is really, that would be the third roundabout?
Yep, third phase.
Is that correct? So yeah, so that it's really just a continuation of that long-term plan. And our approach has been to identify those grant monies to, construct those. So, again, hats off to our transportation department and being able to grab those opportunities and help pay for these with federal dollars.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've actually went out for a couple other federal requests for that College Street corridor, and we should be hearing here pretty quick. Have we heard back if we've been gone? I'm sure we have.
I'm not sure, not yet.
Mr. Mayor, I can provide a little bit more background on that. So the applications for the two requests that the city are going out for, one is for a raised grant, and the second one is for a congressionally directed spending request. Those are both due in a couple of days, and then we anticipate hearing sometime in the summer and fall.
Okay. I just happened to be back in Washington, D.C., talking to our federal delegation about the College Street corridor, which is the raised grant, which is the old Tiger grant, which we've never actually applied for before, but it's a great opportunity to get some federal funding, and luckily this corridor qualifies for it, and along with the other requests as well. So I knew it was coming, and then once those dollars come in, we'll have to do another budget amendment to account for it. So I do just wanted to, before I take a motion for approval, the water meter situation we're in is kind of a unique situation. We have these water meters, they're going out, there's supply chain issues, so we need to find a solution. Our solution in the meantime, while we're waiting on these water meters, is we have to hire people to go out and actually read your meters, which is something we haven't seen here in Lacey for the most part, since since I was on council. And so for the public who's listening, you'll start seeing people looking wherever your water meter is to actually manually read your meter. That is something you have not been used to seeing, but that's why we're doing this. We need to hire the temporary employees to, number one, go out and do this, as we have no other choice because those meters are failed, so we have to manually read them. And then we're gonna have to be in this process. It's like, what do we do? We've ordered these back meters, but they're failing. It's an older system. So do we reinvest a bunch of money to a new water metering system, or do we keep employees on to manually read it? And so that's where we're at right now. This is another just situation of the supply chain issue really causing inflation within our own city budget, because we were definitely not counting on having to do this, or the meters failing and needing this backup. So I just want to let everyone know you will be seeing city employees around your yard, and they're there for a good reason. They need to read your water meter, and so it's that's the way it used to always be done. And then we had this new water metering system, and I can't believe how much time has gone by. But with that, can I get a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 1619, 2022 budget amendment.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded.
I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Troy, can you explain I heard this at the Finance Committee, but I think it's worth repeating so everyone hears it. We have, as you said, a system that's failing, yet we are still ordering more equipment for the failed system or failing system. Can you explain that a little bit, why we would spend money on equipment for a system that we already know is failing and is going to have to be replaced?
Sure, it's really a bit of a balancing act, as the mayor alluded to. We're trying to decide, and we need to evaluate through this 2-year period, whether we want to continue with this type of technology. To give you some perspective in terms of the cost of these systems, we have $6.4 million programmed into the Water Capital Improvement Program for 2023 to replace the entire system. Now, if you do the math in terms of the manual cost to read meters, is it worth $6.4 million every 10 years? And that's why we would like the chance to evaluate and make, an informed decision going forward. But I mean, you are correct. We are still continuing to invest in a system that we may or may not want to continue with, but without knowing for sure today and now, we do have to kind of limp along and keep the system in case that is the route we go. But I think there are some big questions in front of us that we'll have to evaluate. And, we obviously don't want to be here, but, I'm glad we have the time, and I thank the council for the support and giving us this chance to evaluate and make a good decision going forward.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a tough situation to be in. It's like we can't read every single meter, right? We don't have the staff to do that, so we have to kind of maintain it. But we are where we're at, and just want to thank Public Works for and the guys there to go out and do that work. It's not easy work because a lot of times that's buried and you have to dig it up and read the meter, and so not easy stuff. But is there anything from our council members online? Seeing none, it's been moved and seconded to adopt Ordinance 1619, the 2022 budget amendments. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Then that motion unanimously carries.
Great.
Thanks, Troy.
Thank you.
Do you have anything on the city manager's report?
Mr. Mayor, I do have one item that I want to report out on tonight, and that is I am extremely pleased to announce that today the City of Lacey actually launched its new City of Lacey website. So you can go to cityoflacey.org to access the new website. In addition, at the same time, we also launched a new site for our parks, Culture and Recreation Department, and you can go on to that site at laceyparks.org. These sites were designed with a focus on providing simple and straightforward access to citywide information in a very end-user-friendly way. So please take a look at the new sites. I'd like to just take a brief minute and say a huge thank you to our Special Project Administrator, Kelly Adams, for spearheading these efforts the past few weeks. Kelly has been working diligently with every single department here at the city to create, curate, correct, organize, update, and everything else with the new web pages. On the park side, we've also had a pretty strong team effort with Sarah Smith, Erin Queen Valco, Sue Falash, Jenny Wilson, and Krista Yanka Schaefer, who were all integral into the design of that website. I also want to thank our Public Works Department. They've been extremely helpful in supporting this effort. So that would be John Koch, Donna Feliciano, and Jenny Bowersfeld. And we're going to continue to work with all of the departments to enhance this new website, but the new website does have a lot of improved features, and a couple of them are just the improved look. It's got a very simple and clean interface that captures the fun and exciting, friendly city that Lacey is. It's also got a very much improved search engine function, so you can now go to the homepage, you can go to any page, and you can do some simple searching and find the information that you might be looking for. It also has an updated service directory page where you can look for all of the city services. And in addition, on the homepage, it has some icons that link you to some of our most popular services that the city provides. It has language translation services, so you can translate the website into the top 5 languages spoken here at the City of Lacey. It also has accessibility solutions and ADA compliance, and it is really improving our way to connect with the greater community through our alerts, our news system, and then also, we have launched a new form on the website called Lacey 311, and this is an application where people can go on and they can submit in a centralized location any sort of ideas or concerns or questions they might have about the city, and that gets automated to the correct department and staff member to handle that particular item. So we're very excited about these new improvements, and we're excited about the enhanced accessibility and the improved transparency that it affords the greater Lacey community.
Great. Thank you so much. I was got really lucky. I came in earlier today to sign some paperwork and stuff, and I got a sneak preview of our new website. And this website, our old website, has been one of the sort of the Achilles heel of the City of Lacey, where it just was not user friendly at all. And this was like the second iteration. Like, it was even worse before that, and we tried to improve it, and it was still really hard. And one of the most difficult things is it wasn't mobile ready. And so it was so hard, and so many people get their information off their phone. It was just so hard to find that information on our old website. And so it's been something that we've been talking about on this council for a long time. It's like, And what's so cool is when you come right on the website, like a council member just did, you get the latest what's going on in Lacey right up to the front there, as you can tell. I just put you on the spot. But it's really cool. Check out cityoflacey.org, which is different. Our old website was ci.lacey.wa.us, which means here in the near future, our emails are going to change to our name at cityoflacey.org. That's coming, but there's so many cool features on this. And one really cool thing is like as we're just talking about, if you have a concern, you can go to a page and put in concern that has drop-down menus to get some more information, to then goes to the right department to meet that concern. And so obviously, cities are here to serve the public, and obviously having an updated website is going to do that so much better than our old website. And Kelly has done an amazing job. She's outstanding job on this. And so, I thanked her, but, continue to thank all, Kelly and all the staff that's been working on this. It's a huge, huge upgrade.
We have needed this for a really long time.
Such a long time, right?
Thank you for completing it.
I know.
Our website was pretty bad.
It was really bad. So this one's really good. I just had been playing around with it, and it's really good. It's really good.
It is
Thank you for
mobile
that
ready.
bit.
Thank you. That's
Yeah.
exciting.
So it just went live today at 4:00. And so there's going to be, over the next couple weeks, we're going to, be inputting graphics, inputting pictures. There's more pictures that need to be populated. But if you, for some reason, go on to savelacey.org and you see something, you can, message the city and say, hey, I noticed that there was something on this page that needs to be corrected. And so we could all appreciate the public's help on finding all those little things. Kelly's done an amazing job, staff's done an amazing job, but I'm sure there's always little things out there. Great, thank you. Now on to standing general committees. First up is the Finance and Economic Development Committee, which met on March 22nd. And our main item on that agenda was our Lacey Makerspace update. And the Lacey Makerspace is something that is really becoming more and more of a sense of pride for the Lacey community. It's something that this council has supported from the idea of it up through the initial funding. And what we've seen is some amazing synergy that's come out of this unbelievable makerspace that we have right here on St. Martin's University, in connection with the Economic Development Council, who's been the fiduciary on this, who's been helping us out to apply for grants. And it's become more and more and more popular. And it's also become an economic impact on our community, where entrepreneurs are going there and say, hey, I have this idea, I want to make this thing, and they've been able to go there, get help from the university, get help from SPSCC, and bring it to market. And one of the things that we've been able to do is continue to apply for grants and to make it an even better space. And we always knew at some point, knock on wood, that this was continue to be successful, to continue to be an asset in our community, and we're going to grow out of the space that we have there. And sure enough, we are getting close. We've applied for more grants. We have some great new equipment coming in. And this is, in a space over at St. Martin's where they're going to have to, basically vacate that space, and we're going to need to remodel it. And so there's a estimated cost of, they want to do that in about 3 phases. There's an estimated cost of about $1.2 million. And in addition, there's about $100,000 to $200,000 worth of expense for them to relocate the St. Martin's staff, what's going on there for them to another building. And so we really got the rundown of what that financial plan would look like, and it looks really good. And this finance committee completely supported it and said go for it, and they're going to basically go on their way to talk about this at a future work session, because there's a lot involved in it, and so that's going to be coming up here pretty quick. And so we're going to be able to fill in the whole council on what exactly that that financial plan looks like, but you're going to be really impressed, and we really look forward to that. And that is my report. And so next up is the Land Use and Environmental Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our committee met on March 22nd, and we had a very packed agenda. We had a presentation on the energy efficiency program update, and recognizing that there are a number of programs scattered throughout our community and county about this, staff is going to conduct a gap, what's called a gap analysis, to try to find out what Lacey needs to do to make sure that this program is successful. And so they're going to be interviewing 3 major groups in the community. One is landlords and management agencies. One is tenants and renters groups. And the third is classified as aging housing stock, so the owners of these older homes. And hopefully we will glean from that where we need to direct our efforts on energy use. And I will tell you that in Thurston County, residential energy use, well, energy consumption accounts for about 62% of carbon output. So it's kind of a big deal here. We are doing a promotion strategy for our accessory dwelling unit program. Staff highlighted some of the efforts underway. There's an implementation strategy to try to increase the number of housing options within the city of Lacey. And this program specifically seeks to increase the abundance, diversity, and flexibility in housing design through small-scale residential infill. So to promote this program coming out of our pandemic here, staff identified 3 parallel tracks to advance in the coming months. Once a formal design guide is developed and the ADU suitability map is launched, this is a map that shows what properties are suitable for ADUs, then staff will conduct an awareness campaign to try to reintroduce this program in the community. And I can tell you, we've shared these designs that we have for ADUs with other governments, and it's been greatly appreciated. So this program is having an impact beyond Lacey city limits. And finally, we had an update from our community and economic development staff about what is going on with development in the community. And it was a staggering list of projects. Lacey has had a strategy of trying to attract more multifamily housing on the books for a number of years, and it's paying off remarkably. There are so many new multifamily projects coming online in the works. It is remarkable. But the hard part is that very few of those units are going to be what's known as affordable. So efforts are being made to try to do what we can to hold down costs so that people can afford to live and work in Lacey. That's that report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is our General Government and Public Safety Committee.
Thank you. General Government and Public Safety met on March 22nd. We had a single item agenda, and that was a Paint the Town Purple program in conjunction with North Thurston Public Schools. We received a description and a presentation from Vivian Lewis, who is the NTPS military liaison, about what the program entails. And every year in April, NTPS celebrates the month of the military child. This year, they are hosting a ribbon tying event by securing purple ribbons on light poles throughout the city. They'll stay up from April 1st to April 30th. And if you've driven around the city, you may have seen some of those on the light posts. And we will, at our next council meeting, be doing a proclamation declaring April as Military Child Appreciation Month. And that is my report.
Great, thank you. Peg from our Planning Commission just scooted out here. I just want to recognize it was great to see her from our planning commission. Again, getting back into the groove of being here and having a planning commission member here. And so we appreciate our planning commissioners so much, and it was great to see her tonight. So next up is board commissions and committee reports. I'm up first. The Mayor's Forum did meet last Friday, and we were going to try to actually meet in person for the first time, and yet we just couldn't make it happen. There was several mayors who couldn't make the meeting at all, and so instead of just a couple of us meeting, we did do a Zoom meeting. We talked about a couple different things. One thing we talked about is, so how's everyone, each of the jurisdictions dealing with being in person, and are they going in person for everything, or are they just going in person for council meetings? And it sounds, everyone's a little bit different, but it sounded like the bigger jurisdictions were continuing to have their committees and their standing general committees over Zoom, and that makes a little bit of sense. Sometimes these meetings can only be 15, 20 minutes long, and so the drive time to get there is longer than the actual meeting is, and so that's something to think about. But everyone was back basically in person with a hybrid option like we're doing right now for their regular city council meetings, but some were still having their work sessions hybrid. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. We're always going to have a hybrid option from here on out. We're for the first time, I have iPad next to me to see our other council members who are hybrid, and so this will be the new normal for us going forward, and opportunity for people to comment and not have to come here as well. So that's one of the added benefits. The other thing was we had a continued conversation about the Community Action Council. The mayor of Tumwater is a part of that board, and I know we have a council member as part of that board, and there's been some, what I believe is just kind of a miscommunication between the Community Action Council and the Thurston County Auditor's Office, and we talked some of that through, and we were just really encouraging them to go to an arbiter and talk that out, because it feels like people need to get in the same room and have a conversation about it. Community Action Council has been a wonderful organization in our community for a very long time. And we hope to continue to work with them, but they need to get in a room and talk some of this out. So that was sort of our recommendation from several of the mayors after hearing more about that. So that is my report. Deputy Mayor.
I do have one report. The Economic Development Council met on March 23rd, and we actually met at the Lacey Makerspace, and that was the focus of our meeting. So we did just go over a couple small things. The director, Michelle, has 2 staff that are full-time, 3 that are part-time, and their real goal is to become, the Fab Lab or fabrication laboratory of this county, and their membership reaches all the way up into King County and as far south, as far west as Mason County, and a lot of members from Lewis County. Their membership is on the rise, and they're very excited about that, and we did discuss the expansion a little bit. They are growing out of that room. They did use some CARES Act dollars to order some new equipment. There will be a remodeling of that facility, and then let's see, the classes, they have lots of classes, and you can take the free classes as a member. The membership is not expensive. You can go to the website to see, the very reasonable cost of membership. But, the real goal is to be an education and business intersection for the community, where you can, again, like the mayor said, take your idea there, get it fabricated, see if you can get it to the market. One of the benefits is that, you have, your engineering students there. You have the resources of St. Martin's College available to you as a member, and you have the equipment to hopefully bring your product to life. We also did go over some of the economic updates of the county, and one of the things that jumped out was the 25% bounce back in consumer spending So Troy has given us consistent reports saying that, we have not lost a whole lot of revenue because of the pandemic. And in fact, we've saw some really good increased numbers over the last 24 months, and those numbers are steadily going up. So very exciting there. And that is my report.
Thank you. Next up is Councilmember Cox.
I have two reports tonight. The first is on the Regional Housing Council, which met on March 24th. We devoted a good chunk of the meeting to the rental assistance program. The county now has contracted with Seattle-based Live Stories organization to take over administering the rental assistance funds that the Community Action Council had been administering for us. Priority clients, those especially previously approved by CAC for assistance, are being served first, and they are doing their darndest to try to work with landlords, the Dispute Resolution Center on eviction prevention, and the Housing Council also had a decision to make about $100,000 that was left on the table in funding that pays for rapid rehousing and hotel stay funds that were left over from the council contracts. And so we decided to divide that money equally between the Family Support Center and Olympia Mutual Aid Partners. We also heard an update on the purchase of a 6-acre site at Franz Anderson Road that the City of Olympia and Thurston County have gone in together on. This site will be potentially used for RVs. However, they are hiring a consultant to design the site, and Olympia is advising that the soonest this could be ready is early 2023. The Home Fund, which was passed in November, the Olympia and the county are working on an agreement for blending the money that comes in through the county with money that comes in through Olympia through its Home Fund program, and trying to make sure that things are working smoothly as we start seeing revenue from the county Home Fund. We're still looking to acquire motels for permanent supportive housing. Current work centers on a, let's call it program model for how those would be managed, and assessing the capacity of social service agencies and organizations to actually work with them and administer services out of them. Just as an FYI, the Housing Council is going to a twice-a-month meeting schedule, and this will be at 4 o'clock on the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays. So the next meeting is coming up next week. The Climate Action Steering Committee met on March 28th, and a couple of things afoot there. We're working on a recruitment for a new 15-member advisory work group, and we're looking to include multiple constituencies to serve on that, including what you would call the usual suspects, but also including the business community, realtors, and youth. We also have been in an information gathering mode as we are entering into the 4th phase on our climate plan. And so we heard this last meeting from the cities of Seattle and Shoreline about their carbon reduction programs. Their goals are very similar to the ones we've set for Thurston County. They are focusing on commercial and industrial energy codes, not on residential codes because of restrictions in the state energy code. But through the commercial and industrial energy codes, they're placing emphasis on heat pumps to try to have clean electric heat generation. both cities do, however, allow gas backup, natural gas, for extreme cold weather when a heat pump alone can't handle the cold. And that's my report.
Thank you. Councilmember Greenstein.
I have no report this evening.
About Councilmember Stedman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just leave the Community Action Council comments that you and Carolyn made. There's obviously there needs to be a conversation for sure, and I'll just leave it at that.
Absolutely.
Other than that, I want to address the big elephant in the room about having my council meetings remote. I believe it's important that at least one person from our council meets remotely so they can get the experience firsthand, what it's like for if the public was to do it, like people talking in the microphone, stuff like that. So I think it's an important perspective, especially being this council fully supported the hybrid model, that we actually know it's doing its job, so that the process works for everybody, regardless of your comfort level. I'm fine with coming in person. Some people aren't. I just want to make sure that their experience matches the level of the in-person experience, because if we're truly going to do this, we need to do it right, and we need to be accountable, and we need to know firsthand. So I will be in soon. I just trying to do my due diligence and be fair by the process to everybody.
Thank you.
That's it. That's my report.
I appreciate that. And before we go any farther, I do want to say, Councilmember Cox, you're in our thoughts and prayers. We know your mother's having some health concerns, and we just want that we're here for you, and we're wishing you the best. And we know it's a tough time, but hang in there, and we care about you. This community cares about you. Councilmember Kunkel.
Thank you, Mayor. So I just have two reports today. Joint Animal Services met April 4th. It was a very brief meeting with introductions to Andrew Toledo, the new operations manager for the animal shelter. And he gave a presentation on customer navigation system called Wait While. System helps organize and navigate customers as they're being received for the different needs and reasons why they come into the shelter. And for the Lacey South Sound Chamber, we have our annual golf tournament coming up Friday the 13th of May at Hawks Prairie Golf Course. And myself and Councilmember Stedman will be playing on the foursome. Of course, I'm gonna have to carry him for most of the course.
That's the truth.
Yeah, but it'll be fun. Bunch of guys, you got it. So that's my report, Mayor. Thank you.
Thanks. Councilmember Vasquez.
Two brief reports. I have just wanted to share the upcoming ORCA meeting. We're going to be doing officer elections. That's on April 13th. They'll also be working on the 2022 work plan for the ORCA organization and talking about some performance measures. So ORCA has a new executive director, and I think he's interested in making sure that the organization is being productive and moving in the right direction. So we're looking at the work plan and those performance measures. The other update is for the Thurston Regional Planning Council. We met on April 1st, and we got a number of updates on a couple of different programs, reports, or grants that have to be produced or that TRPC is involved in. So the first was just an update on the United Planning Work Program, which is something that TRPC has to produce in order to be eligible for certain state and federal planning funds. We're going to be taking action on that as a council in May. We have the Human Services Transportation Plan update and a Here to There Mobility Management update. Both of those things are in process right now. The Human Services Transportation Plan is something we do every 4 years in order to qualify for federal funding. And it addresses transportation needs for everybody in our community, making sure that our transportation is working for people with disabilities, people in, regardless of age, income, mobility levels, et cetera. Because some people face special challenges to navigate our community, and we got to address those things. And then the Here to There grant was something that TRPC received many years ago, and they have to continually kind of maintain. And that's another one that it's a website where people can go on to figure out how they can get places if they have transportation challenges. So we're working on updating that. And then we did get funding, the TRPC got funding to explore high-capacity transportation. I know the mayor's working on that from the Transportation Policy Committee as well. But TRPC received $250,000 to take a look at options for multimodal high-capacity transportation to get us between Thurston County and Pierce County, which is a huge corridor with a lot of economic life between our two counties. And that's my report.
Great, thank you. Well, just like that, we've reached the end of our agenda. It's good to get in on one of these easy committee meetings, not a lot on the agenda for the hybrid. But before we go, I do have a couple things I want to say. I want to have a quick shout out to our Lacey Police Department. A friend who I grew up with, who graduated high school with, his daughter went missing, and wasn't quite sure where she went, what was going on, and I could only imagine as a parent what that must have felt like. And he called me, and of course with a panic, saying, what help? I don't know what to do. I don't know what am I supposed to do next? I reached out to the chief pretty late at night and said, hey, what can we do? And within 4 days, we were able to find the child down in California, and it started right here with the Lacey Police. My friend later called me after she was found and said working with the police and was just amazing, and felt like he saved his daughter's life. And so just thank you, Chief. Thank you for taking my phone call that late, and thank you for the part Lacey Police Department did in finding that child. It just was a very difficult 3 or 4 days there until the child was found, and so thank you for that. With that, I guess I do have one other thing. It looks like on Monday I'm going to go to the Nisqually tribe. A bunch of elected officials been invited. The governor's been there, and the tribe wants to show firsthand all the legislators, all the elected officials of what's going on with the Nisqually River right there at the bridge. Right, the oxbow is getting worse and worse. We see disaster. It's coming. Right, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, and we desperately need to have a long-term solution there. And I know this city council has been very supportive from the get-go about looking at transportation improvements, south of Pierce County. They received a ton of money to get a bunch of improvements through the JBLM corridor. This is the next important spot, and it's not only just for the Lacey community, it's for commerce all up in western Washington. We've seen what happens when a train wrecks right there, it completely shuts down the entire state. And that what's happened with these bridges when they fail. It's not if, it's when they fail. So we are working on that. The South Sound Military Communities Partnership is there in support as well. It's a national security risk right now. We know that we have more active duty living in the city of Lacey than any other city in western Washington, and if they can't get across this bridge, that's a national security incident. I will report on how that went, but it's good that the Nisqually's pulled this together, and I look forward to help advocate for a solution there. So with that, we have reached our agenda. It's good seeing everyone. And so without objection, you keep it classy, Lacey, and I'll call this meeting adjourned.